Well, welcome everybody to the post-service Commons experience. I'm joined today by my friend and colleague, Pastor Michael Warren. Say hi, Michael.
Hey, everybody. How's it going?
So we are, if you're just joining us, if you're just coming to watch the Commons by itself, not joining at the end of the worship service, we just kicked off a new sermon series. I wouldn't say through the book of Exodus, but from the book of Exodus. Michael, what was your impression from this kind of first week?
I love the book of Exodus, period. And you're going to have to tell me when to stop talking because the Exodus is an end-to-end slice of the Christian experience, right? Scott just said it at the end of his sermon, 3,000 years old of a story. But here we are able to access so many of the concepts and so many of the things that are talking. I mean, today we talked about suffering, right? What do we all have in common living on the earth?
Suffering. And taxes.
Right?
Sorry. I'm sorry. Hey, it's a low-hanging fruit.
No, it's okay.
You walked into that.
But yeah, so what does it mean to be a Christian and to know Jesus and to love him and to deal with suffering? And we're going to go there. And I love how that's going to lead us up to Easter because it feels like we should be thinking about the felt reality of our lives before Easter when we really get to celebrate. We celebrate the risen Christ and all that's made possible through his death, burial, resurrection. So anyway, a little bit excited about this sermon series.
Yeah, and dealing with that stuff can be not the most intuitive thing in the world, right? Especially, if you grew up in the church, if you're, we're told not to fear, we're told to count it all joy when we face sufferings and trials. And so when we are in suffering and we're not feeling particularly joyful, it's worth understanding the way that our story fits into the context of God's story.
Yeah, and I love it. We get to restory our stories inside of God's story, and letting him be the author and at the center of the story. Because if he's not the author and he's not at the center, then who's God?
Me. I am God.
Okay. Again, I love this book. So
all right.
Lots to say about it.
So we're getting into some deep theological waters, and that's not the point of today's Commons.
Okay.
The other thing Scott just mentioned is just how disconnected we've all been over the last year, right?
Yes.
The temperature is rising. The sun, I was biking the other day, the sun felt warm on my face. Summer is coming, Michael.
Yes.
And in this season leading up to Easter, a lot of people are coming back. We've had more people at our in-person worship services than we've had in a long, long time. And we just wanted to take a few minutes to talk about many things, not all the things, but many things that are going on in the month of March.
Yeah, March is a big month for us at Change Point. There's a lot that's happening. And I just want to compare March to October. I think in October, anybody who is working here in ministry, any ministry leader was asking, God, what do we do? What's next? What do we do? What's next? And I feel like once we pivoted into the new year, it was like, oh my goodness, God is showing us exactly what's next. Now we got to keep up with God. And I feel like March is a month where, as a church, there's just a lot of opportunity, and we really want to encourage you to step into it.
All right, so let's get going.
Yes.
All right, we got some slides. Let's put up the slides. This is called Things Coming Up in March. Coming up in March.
Number one.
What's the first thing we have coming up in March?
I don't know. Let me read it.
Drive-in movie night.
Yes. Hey, drive-in movies. I went last month.
Yeah.
It was awesome. We were watching Frozen, and I turned up the bass and the treble in my car, and we tuned in FM style, which is so cool, watching a movie on the side of the church building. My kids loved it. I loved it. My whole family loved it. Drive-in movies. Who would have thought?
So you do need to register for this. There's no
Yes.
cost. It's free, but you do need to register because we only have so many spaces in the parking lot. They did a fantastic job running parking. They've got all these cones out in this whole system.
You put your flashers on, and somebody comes and brings you candies and things.
Yeah, so they got a whole thing. This is done through our family ministry, all about empowering parents and families to grow in their discipleship with Jesus. Anyway, drive-in movie night is coming up March 5th, also my dad's birthday.
You don't have to have kids. You don't have to have little kids to come to these things either.
That's true.
You wanna come
Yes.
to drive-in come on.
You can come hang out with us, and you're in your car. It's COVID safe.
Yes.
Coming up March 5th. You do need to register. The easiest way to get to the registration link is online at changepointalasca.com/children.
Number one,
So
drive-in
that's number
movie.
one.
Two.
Number two.
What do we got? If conference.
Yep.
Okay.
This is under your banner. You go.
Okay, so if you're a woman at Change Point, you need to understand what the phrase "if" means. If is just the name of a larger way to organize all of the ministries to women in this church. We brought Laura Smith on staff a little over a year ago, and Laura is working to to really breathe life and to listen to the women of the church and to build ministries that really help all of the women of the church wherever they are, whether you're single, married, with kids, launched kids. There's just so many opportunities. And these larger conferences and these larger gatherings are a place where everybody can come together. All the women of the church can come together and to be encouraged, to be challenged, and then they can go back out into all the other kinds of things that they're involved in the church and be stronger. And so, yeah.
So this event that we're doing coming up March 6th, this is like a big nationwide put together event thing, big national speakers, etc.
Yes.
They put them together. Millions of women across the world are going through this same, kind of curriculum and these same speakers. Some places they do it as a 2-day. We're doing it as a one day marathon. So it's coming up this Saturday, March 6th. From 9:30 a.m. to 5 p.m., and it's going to be here at Change Point. There is an online option as well. If you have a small group, you and the ladies have been meeting all through COVID. We had, who was it that we had? We had a guest here on the Commons who was shouting out to Jerry Cannon the other day because it was one of her kind of like small group of women. If you have a small group of women, we have an online option for the IF conference. You can do it from your house and just have you and your ladies and the Lord.
Yeah, it's kind of the way of Change Point these days, too. It's like if you feel comfortable coming, come. If you don't feel comfortable coming, you want to kind of gather in your home, do it that way, do that. We're going to try to give you all of the options to do it the way that you feel the most comfortable.
Yeah, people are smart. They can make good decisions for themselves.
Yes.
So that's what we're trying to empower you to do, is have many options and make the choice that works for you. So next event that we have coming up.
Number 3. Okay.
Online Leader Summit. If anything in this church is your wheelhouse, take it away, Michael.
So if you have been a leader at Change Point for any amount of time, you know that the summits were a way for us to get together once a month as a leadership team and to talk about what was really going on in our groups, really going on in our communities, a place to be encouraged, a place to be prayed for and to pray with others, a place to have a meal together, a place to get some teaching. And a lot of the times what we would do at these summits is we would engineer the teaching, what we would talk about that night, around the real felt need of the leaders in their groups. And so we'd find out groups are working to grow deeper, and how do you transition from a time of kind of having some food and praying and to going deep? How do you do that? And so you find out there's 10 groups that are kind of like asking this question. Then we would design a night around those things. And so what I loved about summits is they were built around the felt needs and the realities of what leaders were facing. So COVID came, scrambled our eggs. We haven't had these in a long time. And if there's anything that I've been hearing from our leaders, both our kind of executive leaders and our leaders kind of on the ground doing ministry inside of the church, is we need to get back to that. We need to do that again. And so we're going to start with some online meetings. It's going to be a great place for you to let us know what's going on out there so that we can design some experiences where we can kind of minister to that and grow together. So summits are not going away. They're going to look a little bit different in this season, but the goal is, of course, that we're going to get back to either what we've done, which was awesome, or to something new that's even awesomer, right?
Absolutely.
So anyway, online summit, be there.
Yeah. So
Zoom meeting.
Core thing that we do as a church, if you're not familiar with leaders, like what Michael's talking about here, core thing that we do as a church is we are about helping you find life in Christ and helping you grow in your discipleship with Jesus. And one of the big ways that happens, especially after you've been following Jesus a few years, is that we had guests in the Commons last week who'd kind of been called into areas of need and ministry somewhat unexpectedly, right? So we are all about equipping and empowering you to do the ministry that God has called you to do.
Good.
Like Michael was saying, scrambled our eggs last year. What, leading a life group, what leading a small community, the kinds of ministries you guys are doing have gone all over the place and done many different things. So we want to hear from you as leaders of smaller communities and ministries in our church.
Right.
What's up?
So what Tony's saying is just so important. At Change Point, ministry goes back into the hands of the church. Mm-hmm. It's not about the pastors and the staffers doing it all. It's about the church being the church. But what we feel responsible for as a pastoral team is making sure that we're supporting you in the ministry that you're doing. You're not out there on your own. And sometimes it's just these little tweaks in either group management or in spiritual growth, all the kinds that can really infuse you as a leader with everything that you need to pivot to your people and to lead well and to lead strong. And so we need to get the feedback loops up and running, and Summit is one of the primary ones, right? Okay, Summit.
So Summit, if you are a life group leader, you should be getting an email. If you don't get an email Michael at michaelw@changepointalaska.com.
Yeah,
All right.
Zoom meeting. Is it the 7th?
Yep. Zoom
7th
meeting on
at
the
7 p.m. 7th at 7. Save the date. Go write it. Put it on the fridge.
7th at 7. All right. Next
Yes.
up, what do we got? Men's second Saturday.
Second Saturday. Okay, so
Yeah, so this is an open dudes event.
Open dudes
I have had
event.
many guys in our church recently, new guys. Like, if you're a new guy at Change Point, you are not alone. We've had a lot of new guys recently. If you are a new guy at Change Point who is looking for community, looking to meet some people, looking to have, what all do you guys do at Second Saturday?
Second Saturday is a place where we can talk about men's issues. We could talk about the Bible through a uniquely masculine perspective. It's a place where we could talk about our vision for manhood. And it's a place where we could just kind of go deeper. So teaching kind of cultivates depth. The interaction is a chance for us to kind of like talk about it and process it in a place that's just kind of uniquely for men again. And it's also a place, if you're a guy at Change Point, you're just kind of looking to get connected. Maybe you don't have a group, you're looking for a group. This is a place where you can get connected to all of the other things that are going on. But it's just like this staple once a month. We're always going to meet. We're going to talk about something. The aim is to go deeper. So if you're a guy at Change Point, you haven't been to Second Saturday, just want to encourage you to come and to check it out, especially if the Lord is just kind of knocking on your heart and saying, hey, going to church on Sunday, that's great, but there's more for you. There's more in terms of growth and depth. Second Saturday is a way to kind of like access all of those things that are uniquely designed for men, right? So women, they've got the if kind of gatherings and all the things that are happening there. Men, it's kind of Second Saturday. That's the place to kind of gather and launch out from.
So time and place?
Second Saturday,
7 a.m.
Yeah, it's
the second Saturday of the
Right.
month because
right. So we get together about between 7:30. We've got the Zoom option that goes live at about 7:45. Teacher starts at about 8. We try to be done by 9 because Saturday is a day where we've really got to pivot to our families and some of the other responsibilities that we have on the weekend. So long story long, 7:30 to 9, second Saturday.
Yep. If you're a guy, there you go. Next thing, what do we got next?
Number 3.
Preparing for marriage.
Yes.
So this is a premarital class. If you or someone you know is going to be married and loves Jesus, that may not. You might want to do some other things too, specifically preparing for marriage.
So second Saturday, preparing for marriage has been around at Change Point for like decades. Okay, this is like Tara and I met each other. Oh goodness, 17, 18 years ago. This is like the first, like the Bible study we joined. I have not met a person who's gone through preparing for marriage who hasn't said that was the most important thing. Like, preparing for marriage is a tried and true way to kind of think through some things. You know, if you're thinking about getting engaged, if you are engaged, if you have it doesn't matter where you're at, but if you're with somebody that you care about and you love God and you want to be mentored well, preparing for marriage is for you. You know what's interesting? The other thing that people say is kind of like, for like new couples, preparing for marriage, and then they say,
financial peace.
Yeah. Like those are the two things. It's like if you're getting ready to get married at Change Point, preparing for marriage,
financial peace. Yeah.
Those are the two things, and it's like if you have those two things together. I was just thinking of the Jacksons, Brian and Ginger. They're just like, oh man,
do those.
Yeah.
You know the number one cause of conflict and marital disharmony, money. Like number one source of issues. So yeah, preparing for marriage a little bit broader, talking about fusing your lives together as a married couple.
All things.
Like
they get into
conflict.
So many things.
Where you're going to be your pain points, family history, all this stuff. And then FPU is more specifically on how are we going to manage our money as a couple, manage our resources as a couple in a way that we can eat and not kill each other.
So 2 parts that I love about preparing for marriage. How do we bring these 2 diverse backgrounds together? Okay, so either cultural backgrounds or just kind of like life experience. But how do we bring these backgrounds together? The other thing I love about preparing for marriage: how do we make what is biblical decision making? How do we make a decision right from like the wedding decisions that are probably already stressing you out? Right, it has a tendency to do that. But to like, how do we make a decision and to like and get on the same page as followers of Christ? So biblical decision making. Yeah, I love that it goes there. And how do we bring these two backgrounds together? I've really appreciated those two parts of it.
Yeah, you don't even know all the things. If you're a single person who's not been married and you're about to get married, you don't even know all the things that you do right now that are very weird. But don't worry, your future spouse will let you know what the weird things that you do are.
You're all googly-eyed and in love.
Yeah, this is going to be amazing. And it will. But also, you should take this class. That's taught by Brad and Carol Slama.
Yeah, Brad and Carol are the organizers of it, and they're just a solid couple. They care so much about marriage and relationships and like God's way, and they have a way of calibrating kind of the invitation and the challenge. They're just so good at it. But they have a team of mentors. Every couple that joins Preparing for Marriage gets a mentor couple. And that the goal of that mentor couple is to not to just march you through some book. It's to get to know you and to be prayerfully considering, okay, how can we help? This isn't to like pull up a bunch of like roadblocks and deal breakers. This is to help so that when you look at your spouse to be, you're feeling really good about this because you've had somebody kind of guide you through some of the questions that you just might not be anticipating.
So people get married in the summer. We do this class in the spring.
Yes.
This year it starts March 14th, which is only 2 weeks away. So you need to register online. It's in the Group Finder.
Yes.
Group Finder tool. If you haven't checked that out, check it out. It's on the top bar of our website. It's in the app under content and links. If you go to changepointalaska.com/adults, you'll find the link to the Group Finder like right at the top. You go to the Group Finder, look for Preparing for Marriage, register today. Starts in 2 weeks. And we got one more, right?
One more?
Yes.
Numbers hang.
The Raising a Modern Day Knight info meeting.
Come on.
Raising a Modern Day Knight. If you guys don't know about Raising a Modern Day Knight, it is the source of this hat that I wear on the stream every single week. Michael, what
cool
is...
logo.
Yeah, it is a cool logo, and it's a cooler program than it is a logo.
So raising a Modern Day Knight is a multi-church effort in our state to help boys understand what it means to be a man. Okay, so biblical manhood, it's a big concept, but how do we translate that for preteens and teenage boys so that they can navigate culture, so that they can navigate their social lives, their relationships, the launch to college? And we believe that the best person to transfer this is a dad or another family member like an uncle or a grandpa or a mentor. And we just really believe that ChangePoint is a sending church. And what I mean by that is that the time that people spend with ChangePoint is going to help them so that they can go out and build the kingdom. And helping young men understand that a real man, R-E-A-L, a real man, rejects passivity, expects God's greater reward, accepts responsibility, and leads courageously. Just think of those phrases. Rejects passivity, expects God's greater reward, accepts responsibility, leads courageously. Those are big concepts. And so how does a young man not only understand the operational definition of what that phrase means? And so what Knights does is it gives them an experience to help them not only learn the concepts, but to make sure that they learn them in such a way that they'll never forget them. Now, I have to be careful when I talk about Knights, because if there are young people watching right now, this is kind of we don't want to give all the spoilers for this, because much of what happens in Knights is built on surprise, and sometimes the surprise is an effective tool to communicate big concepts. It's not some secret organization. There's nothing goofy. It's not goofy.
It's not a cabal. There's no robes. Nothing weird.
No, nothing weird. But what we want to do is we want to spend time with the dads. We want to spend time with the mentors who have either a preteen or a teenage boy that they would like to kind of walk with inside of this content. You can't just show up at a retreat or an experience and expect to go from not talking about man things to all of a sudden talking about all of the man things. It's just too much for a young person to process. And so what we want to do is we want to get the dads together to get them ready and to have them to start to interact with their boys, so that when it comes time for the kind of the graduation and kind of like the main event, the rite of passage, that, there's no surprises, that there's a natural trajectory kind of building up to this. So anyway, Knights is a program to transmit biblical manhood from adults to young people.
So, if you're a dad out there, let me just speak to my experience here as a dad. I'm a dad. I have 4 sons. Oldest is 13, youngest is 6. So, I'm very interested in modern day nights.
Yeah.
I went on my first modern day nights experience, got hooked up with this 2 years ago now. It was a tremendous experience. The program does such a good job of setting dads or mentor men up for victory with these young men. Also, they have older boys there, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21-year-olds who've been through this program, and they lend credibility to the whole thing because
Yes.
they believe in it. They have the hat. They're all cheering for these young, 12, 13, 14-year-olds. And I mean, it's a very powerful environment to be able to bring some of this challenge and cast vision for, okay, here's the changes over the next 10 years, and be thinking about the kind of man that you really want to become, because the guy you're becoming today is the guy that you're going to be.
Yeah.
And it's saucy. So, information meeting is like the first step on this thing. It is for dads, yes?
Yeah, for dads
or uncles,
or
it's for the
mentors.
adults.
Yeah, it's for the adults, and
It's not for the young men. It's
No.
for the adults. Yes.
yeah,
Okay.
help
Wanna
them
make that
get their
clear.
heads. And I just want to say, my first experience in nights, 12 years ago. My oldest son was 3, and I had people ask me like, "Why are you here?" I'm like, "Why am I here?" I'm like, "This is the most important ministry that I can be a part of." And I have 3 sons now, and been a part of the program for over a decade, and just really, this is the ministry I've given my heart to, and so just
100%. If you're a dad out there, who has a young son, and you're looking to get, kind of brought into the community of dads here at Change Point, maybe show up on March 21st at 7 p.m.
No, and Tony, here's what's cool. There are guys that are connected to the program that they love the vision, but they don't even have sons,
Yeah.
and they're like, "I'll come, I'll help," and so it takes an army.
Yeah.
An army
Not
to
a village.
pull this off.
An army.
So
And
anyway.
it's an amazing experience. So if you're in any of those positions, there's an info meeting. It's going to be, 2 weeks from now? 3 weeks from now?
Yeah,
3 weeks
Sunday
from
the 21st, and we're fire hosing everybody with information. Where can they get like the calendar? What are some of the best places for people to access? Right?
now. Where can they, are you asking me? Where
Yeah.
people- Yeah, go to the calendar. I didn't understand.
So we've just rolled out all of these opportunities.
Yeah.
If somebody's interested, like.
Yeah, so all these are on the event calendar online, changepointalaska.com, at the campuses up in the top, the campuses in Raspberry, because that's where our events are. The event calendar is right there.
Right.
And everything that we've talked about today is in there. It's on much of it is in the content and links down in the app. Some things like the RMDK, there's no registration link for the RMDK, is there?
Not yet.
So for right now, we're just time and location. But yeah, all the information about these events is online on the event calendar, changepointalaska.com.
Yeah, and I just also want to spike community life at changepointalaska.com. That email is monitored by me, by Kyle, by Karen. It's like that is a good
We are
place
watching
to go.
that.
Hey, I've just got a quick question. Check in. We're doing everything we can to be as responsive as we can as your requests come in for everything, for prayers, for how do I get connected to these programs, all these things. And so help us help you reach out, right? So
It's 11 o'clock.
we're done.
Can you believe it? Look how fast that went. So, this and many more things online. The meta message is it's a big church, but it's full of real, normal people. So there are many, many places that you can plug in and get connected more all the time. Find out more in the ChangePoint app or online at changepointalaska.com. God bless you, ChangePoint. Have a great week, and we'll see you next Sunday.
See you guys.